Zuli over at Little Bean's Garden has started up, I think, a wonderful hashtag event. It's geared to the new gardener, somebody that's just starting out and that doesn't have very much information on how to grow anything, like we all started out. We throw some seeds in the ground and hope for the best. And we don't know why they didn't grow. So link will be down below if you want to join in. If you have knowledge to share to novice gardeners, if you are a novice gardener, since this is a hashtag, that means you can just click on the link and all the other videos will pop up. Click often because they will be added to continuously. One of the things I wish I was more aware of when I first started my vegetable gardens was hardiness zones. Because when I started my garden back in 86, 87, I didn't know there was a difference. They were talking about the last frost date. Well, in zone 10B, we don't have a frost date. We rarely see a frost at all. So we can grow all year round. And when I started my garden, there wasn't a lot of information out there. Yes, you had a farmer's almanac, but you had to know what the heck you were looking at. There was really no gardening magazines. Your only real source for information was seed catalogs. And still you needed to know what your zone was. The majority of my gardening information I got off of the TV. We had Victory Garden, and then pretty soon there was some guy, I can't remember his name, but he had a lot of how-to information. And then we had Mel Bartholomew with his square foot gardening came along. Jerry Baker with all of his lotions and potions and creams and things. And then, I found French intensive gardening. Okay, put them all together and it's total chaos. And then, years later, I discovered we had radio programs. Gardening programs on the radio where you could call in and ask questions and get answers for here in Southern California, San Diego, Lemon Grove. And that helped a whole lot because it changed all sorts of stuff. I could get pertinent information on how to grow in my area. Well, I haven't been able to find a radio program since. It's been about 15 years since they were on. Of course, they would start at 5 o'clock in the mornings on Saturdays, so you had to on the radio. But now we have YouTube. We can get anything we want 24 hours a day on YouTube. Just make sure that it applies to where you're growing. They were talking about you can't start gardening, can't start planting until the ground thaws. Well, that didn't register until one day on Victory Garden. He went out with a garden fork and started digging around trying to dig around in his garden bed. He hit it with the garden fork and it just rang like a bell. Oh, I guess the ground is frozen. And one of them suggested, put your garden to bed for the winter. Rip out everything, mulch it well, wait until spring. Well, I ripped out everything, including a highly productive bell pepper plant. I shouldn't have ripped out everything. No, I shouldn't have ripped out anything because everything grows very well all year round in Southern California. Oh, look, I have mushrooms. Now, they're not the oyster mushrooms or the other ones, but I have mushrooms growing in my hugel bed. Need to go check out and see if I got Need to go check out and see if I got oyster mushrooms growing. So personally, I think knowing what zone you live in and what you can grow in that zone and when you grow it in that zone would have been very, very helpful back when I started with my vegetable garden. Hello, Homer. I knew that rainwater was very, very important, and everybody talks about acid rain, the dreaded acid rain. Well, another thing I wish I would have known about was the pH of soil, how important that is on growing stuff. And since all the programs I was watching was from back east, were mainly derived from an old forest, and I'm desert, I don't have centuries of leaf matter, dead plants that have rotted into a beautiful loam, a beautiful dirt, highly acid. Nope. We are alkaline. We are so alkaline when the pH. And when I started gardening, like I said, all my information was coming from the eastern part of the United States, or central, with the grasslands and all this wonderful decay, all this loamy soil full of all this plant matter. I just did what they said. Every spring, put down so many pounds of lime. Dolomite lime? Can't remember what it's called. Of course, that was back in 87 to 90. And lime makes your soil even more alkaline. There's not a lot of things that you can just dump on to make acid soil. You want your acid rain. You need to bring your pH up from being alkaline to more, at least medium. So that's my things. Know what zone you're living in and what you can grow and when to grow it. And knowing what your soil pH is. That will make all the difference in the world, because if you make your alkaline soil even more alkaline, not much is going to grow. That's why everything goes crazy after a rain, because it balances out the soil for a little while. Brings my pH up. I do wish that I would have known about zones back in the beginning, so I could use the information that actually did apply to my garden and not screw up so bad planting things and ripping things out and following information for a different zone, because I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to grow from fall to spring, not so much during the summer. And another thing I wish I would have known is if they dry out, they die out. And it's going to be a hot one today, and I didn't check these first thing in the morning, but they have water now. And especially little seedlings, because their roots don't go very deep. And even if you have them planted in the ground, if the top 2 inches of soil dries out, then your plant's going to die out. And if you have fruit trees, for years I was picking them before they were ripe. This goes for peaches, apples, oranges, lemons, grapefruit, loquats. But if you want to know if they're ripe, they look good, but if you turn them like that and they don't pop off easily, they're not ripe. That one's dirty. But on these lemons, when the green stripes are gone, that's when you start tilting them sideways. Well, if you want to follow the hashtags, go to Little Bean's Garden and look for her playlist. And if you want to participate and possibly win a $50 gift card, go to her video, and in her Show More, she has all the information you'll need. I'll link it down below. And go to her Show More. You will see how to win the $50 gift card.